Hi, my name is Monica Kretschmer, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Universal Women's Network, Woman of Inspiration Awards, and this is the Woman of Inspiration podcast, where we speak with women who lead, inspire, and motivate. So today's conversation began in one of the best things we do. We meet women that we strike up a conversation with unexpectedly. Our next guest I met in the middle of New York City, just on the sidelines of watching two masters of their craft recording a nearby podcast. It's a moment of proximity, creativity, and alignment, and the perfect setting to meet a woman who has spent her career shaping culture ahead of the curve. Our guest today is Abby Wallach, a celebrated media and beauty entrepreneur, storyteller, and pioneer at the intersection of innovation, culture, and self-expression. Abby's the CEO and co-founder of the House of Scentinvent. Did I say that correctly, Abby?
Scentinvent. Yes.
Scentinvent, where she is redefining the modern fragrance through skin first, travel ready formats for merge scent, beauty, and wellness. Her innovations are shaping how fragrance is worn, experienced, and felt. At the heart of Abby's work, she has a deep belief in intuition, creativity, and the quiet authority women already hold. Today, she's driven to help women trust themselves, define who they are on their own terms, and build the lives and businesses that reflect that very truth. So, Abby, welcome to the Women of Inspiration podcast, and listeners, get ready to be inspired.
Hi, Monica. It's so great to see you again. I can't
Well,
even believe it's already like a few days since we met in the middle of Rock Center. Totally was
yeah,
the highlight.
it was definitely a highlight, but it felt like we could have had a bigger conversation like right there and closed off the lights. And, so sometimes you just have to strike when the iron is hot. When you know that somebody has such a great story, and in the short little conversation that we had, there was sparks flying around the room. And, to give our listeners a little bit of a background, spilling the tea, we both were sitting there looking over as Martha Stewart, like boss lady Martha, entered the building, hopped into the little podcast studio, and sat down beside Chris Appleton, who is a celebrity hairstylist to the stars. Like, OMG moment. Martha is reinvented herself for like let's
So
just
many
say
times. She's
60
unbelievable.
sorry, 6 decades.
Yep. She's remarkable. She's a
And I
firecracker.
think I said to you, I didn't even know that Martha had a podcast, but OMG, like I just want to say to those that are listening, like mad respect for Martha. When people, and I think we talked about this in the green room, Abby, was I see people all the time at 65 clocking in their 15, 59, 66, and they're counting down until they can actually retire at 65. And here Martha is launching a podcast in her 80s. And I'm just like, mad respect. She is a hustler. She has grit. And oh my God, she is stunning and so, so beautiful inside and out. So, anyways, Abby, I just had to do a little bit of a spill in the tea, like
Yeah,
what
of
brought us
course.
together and how we'll never forget that moment. I know I won't.
No, it was so much fun. And you know what? I will tell you the other thing about Martha Stewart, she has such wisdom. She knows things. And sometimes I think we live in a very fast world with a lot of information, a lot of misinformation. And when you've been at it for a really long time, whatever your hustle is, you only learn, well, not only, but you learn so much from years of hard knocks and experience. And she is a true testament to an incredible career and legacy, and really an incredible story and beautiful.
Okay, well, that is an introduction. So, Martha, tag you're it. We want to have a bigger conversation because I would love to be in a fly on the wall in some of those conversations that are happening as she reinvents herself yet again. So, Abby, let's
Yeah.
talk about, and I open it up to talking about, what did you want to be when you were a little girl? Because there's always that big dream of what you want to be when you grow up. So what was that for you?
So I think when we met, I told you that story of when I was a very little girl, how I traded a Cinderella watch for a piece of bubble gum. And I was the kind of kid that was super curious. I loved business at the age of like 5. I don't know why. It was just, well, I do know why. It was around me. My father had his a family business. My grandmothers were in business. Everyone around me was in business and creating opportunities for people to develop and to almost create memories for others. One grandmother was in the fashion business, ready to wear. She had 17 stores all over the West. And she was like a merchandiser, super powerhouse. And we would walk into a store and she would be like, that's not set up right. Let me fix that for you. She just had spunk and smarts and energy. And my other grandmother was from a long line of caterers, and they planned the most magnificent affairs all over New York City, all over New York for families, creating beautiful weddings and barn bat mitzvahs and really celebrations that brought so much joy and memories to families. And they also owned a sleepaway camp. And that sleepaway camp, what they did, and it was so interesting, they took the staff from the catering business during the summers when it was slow, and they brought them to this sleepaway camp to prepare food for the kids and for the families that went to camp. And this is back in like the late 1940s. So it was a time of, opportunity. And they were extremely smart business people, but they were also wonderful humans. They really cared about the people they served. Everything they did, back then it wasn't about branding, but the brand that they built, really, when I look back all those years ago, is very impressive because they had a certain aesthetic and a certain style, and it all fit into all of these businesses. So back to why and when I decided what I wanted to do was probably sitting at my grandmother's, both of them, their vanities, dreaming of lotions and potions and hoping that one day I would have my own beauty empire. And that was always my dream since I was a little kid.
So the road is never straight. It's always a little bit windy. So tell us about that journey from that little girl thinking about, I'd love to have, a cosmetic, a line, some sort of brand as a young woman, a little girl. There's a little bit of a gap there. So fill us in with the gap because you were also a pioneer in the media industry as well.
So it's such a great question, and it's a lot longer conversation, but to make it to tie it up in a little bow, I was always inventing even as a child. I was launching businesses, bringing ideas home to my parents, consulting them on their businesses, saying things that they were probably like, what is she talking about? Why does she know these things? And I knew, and I had insight because I listened, because I went to the camp that they went to, that they own. So I would listen to what everybody was saying and then I would just report back. It was interesting to me. It wasn't, I was looking for it. It was just right there. And it was fascinating. When they said that they weren't going to serve sugar cereals anymore, I heard it from all the kids. What do you mean they're not serving sugar cereals anymore? So I was always inventing and creating and working, even in high school, even when I went to college, I was putting together press kits in my dorm room. I was figuring out how I was going to get my very first job. What was that going to look like? I saw an article in the New York Times about Christian Lacroix coming to Saks Fifth Avenue. This is a long time ago. And I put together a press kit that I learned how to do in a summer internship. And I emailed it to the president. Now, I never heard from him, but it didn't matter because what it taught me to do was to advocate for myself, to see something that was interesting that I was just going to go after. And that's sort of my whole life, because I was never the type of young person or teenager or college student or executive many years later that really followed where the direction that everyone was going. I had ideas, I was curious, I was inventive, and I wanted to And I wasn't afraid. I had no fear. I had no fear whatsoever. If I was rejected, it didn't matter. I moved on. And it was just this innate sensibility that I had. And it wasn't even just that I was doing it to achieve, it was that I loved it. I loved every single second of what I was doing. And I found it fascinating and it was fun. And I just put things into motion. And I feel like that's how I've achieved so much of what I've done in my life because I just gave it my best and I just did, I didn't follow a plan or a path, but I just went with my instinct and my intuition. And I did
Mm.
start in beauty and fashion and I launched Calcaflor, the beautiful French fragrance by Huguenot Paris at Bergdorf Goodman. And that was a dream of mine when I was 21. And I did that. And then I got fired because the division closed and I ended up getting a fabulous job in entertainment. But I didn't want to be in entertainment. I wanted to be in beauty and fashion. And that was my dream. But I got this great job working for my best friend's father, who was a big executive producer. He did Beatlemania, AC/DC, Aerosmith. And I worked on the Moscow Circus and the Ninja Turtles. And that's how I got into entertainment. And while I was looking for my next job in beauty, I couldn't get into the beauty business. I don't know why. It just wasn't the right time. And I got this amazing job at Showtime Networks as the like senior publicist of live special events all over the country. I was like,
Wow.
okay, yeah, it was a wow. And I was like, okay, well, they want me. And I had this creative spirit. And as much as my heart was pulling me into beauty and fashion and fragrance, I wasn't getting that. So I said, all right, this is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to give it my best. And every step of the way, I learned something that I took with me.
Mm.
So when I got that job, I really learned entertainment, media, production, programming, events, every category because it was a network. It was a cable network at the time. We all know Showtime. So it gave me an incredible training ground to learn an industry. And from there, I ended up as an executive producer because I met Gladys Niederlander in the bathroom at a pitch meeting. And she recognized me from previous projects that I had worked on for her production company, and I was moving to LA. And she said, "Darling, come work for me." I was like, "Okay, what does that mean?" She said, "Just show up in my office tomorrow." And I did. And the point, and I share these stories, is because they are about inspiration. These are just things I did. I can't tell you why. I don't know. An opportunity, a door opened, I walked through it, I took it. I just was hungry. I was a hustler, like Martha. I was a hustler. I wanted
Hello to
to learn.
hustlers. Hold your hand up if
Hustlers,
you're a hustler.
right?
I'm a hustler. Martha's a hustler.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's amazing, not having fear to put yourself out there. Most people stop at the fear. And don't get me wrong. I mean, we always do have some level of fear,
We have to. It's natural.
right? It's normal, right? We're protecting ourselves. I mean, look how we met. We were sitting across from each other. I don't even know like how we started our conversation. You were just this attractive, beautiful woman sitting there. I don't even know I don't even remember.
I,
You
I
remember?
carry, I, you know what I have to say? I think there's also an element of energy. Energy attracts energy.
Oh,
And
yes.
I bring it. I bring it. And so I don't ever
I
walk
felt
into a
it.
room without bringing energy. And so I bring energy, you brought energy, and the universe is like, these two need to have a conversation
Right. We were literally sitting across from each other.
across from
You
each
could have
other.
sat somewhere else. Like we just were. And that's the beauty of it. And that's how I've actually lived my whole professional journey and my personal journey. It is all about that connection, that energy, that when you feel something, that spark, it's a frequency. And I feel that a lot of women that are comfortable within their skin have that. We all have different gifts to give. We have our strengths and we have our weaknesses. And it's really about learning and it's about evolution. We're in a different world today, but back to the journey of how I ended up in media and entertainment. When I got that big job as an executive producer, I was selling these very famous TV show, book properties at the time. I was in Hollywood doing that whole thing, and I loved every second of it. But in that business, it was so hard to get a project up and running. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to do it myself. I created a makeover show with a partner, Melissa. She was my partner for 17 years. She's an amazing friend and a brilliant beauty editor back in the day.
Ooh,
Still
back to the
is.
beauty.
Back to the beauty. That's the door that opened. She was this gorgeous woman that lived in my building. We were both pregnant, actually. And I stopped her. I was like, what do you do? And that was it. 17 years later, and we're still very, very, very dear friends. And we had a vision, and that was to merge content and commerce on the internet, to launch a media brand called Beautiful Stranger. TV. They would always say, Abby, why does it have to be TV? I'm like, guys, it's TV on the internet. This is a long time ago.
Yes. And you
Very.
know exactly what it is. There's no question.
I mean, it was like a no-brainer to us, but the reason why we did it, and this is the little nugget of inspiration, was because at that point the internet wasn't what it is today. And at that point, no one was doing short form content. And at that point, nobody could shop off the internet provided by an affiliate link. None of these things existed. We created them. YouTube, we were one of YouTube's very first partners. They didn't even know what they were doing. They gave me 80% of the revenue. We didn't sell very much. But the point was, these are evolutions of business, of industry. And we're in an evolution today. And that's how things evolve. So when I was with Melissa, we had the most phenomenal experience. Everyone in the beauty industry got behind this brand because who doesn't want their 15 minutes of fame? We would run after people on the street. We would literally run around with a huge camera crew. I had a whole crew, would run around, would stop people and say, you
Love
look
it.
fabulous. And she, was a true expert. She trained me. She taught me from an editorial point of view. What does style look like? What is a beautiful stranger? It's not just the outfit of the day. Who's got something special you want to know more about? Because that's where trends start. So that was a whole learning curve. And that ultimately got me into fragrance because I did that for 15 years and I'd worked with so many amazing celebrity experts, industry insiders, and I learned from them. I learned from all of their art and their brilliance, and I had so much fun, and they all told me their stories. And then I made them shoppable. And then I saw an opportunity. And I had another friend in the beauty industry who was an expert in skincare. Her name is Caroline. I said, wouldn't it be amazing if we could reimagine fragrance and make it like candy? She's like, Abby, what are you talking about? I said, let's put fragrance in a palette and call it Abby. She's like, I don't think anyone's going to really want Abby's fragrance. I said, well, maybe they will. Because when I was little, remember I think we talked about this. There was do you remember when you were little and there was stationery and mugs and things with your name on it? It was super personalized.
Absolutely. I used to go to that and wheel that little rack around, and
Right.
nobody had Monica. Like Monica was not a name on there. It was Jane. It was, I think they had Abby. They didn't have Abby either. What were
Abby
they
was,
doing?
well,
Two
that's the
iconic
point.
names.
That's the point. It was a need for me as a kid. It didn't exist. Why aren't I there? I was so upset. Abby is a very popular name today. It means a father's joy. I don't know why my name wasn't there. I know Monica wasn't there. I know whose names were there. I remember whose weren't. And it wasn't that it was so unique, and it's not like you wanted to be part of a club. You just wanted to buy the stationery with your name. So I had to go make it up. That's being an entrepreneur. You see something, you want it, you make it up, right? Starting with the name. So when I said to Caroline, what if we could create fragrance in a palette and call it Abby? That was the impetus behind that. How can we make it snackable and portable and on the go and fun and playful, like my whole life, right? How do you bring
Mhm.
joy? So that was the beginning, and that was how I got into fragrance.
Cole's
A
notes.
long journey.
There's so much there that I want to talk about. And I'm going to go back to something that you said in the very beginning. And that's this whole conversation for our listeners. They're going to go zing, 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 zing. It's because you and I actually, we operate on the same frequencies. I am exactly like you. I am a go-getter. I strike while the iron's hot. If I'm in, I'm all in, and I will run down the street and go, where are we going? Because I'm like, I see the vision coming to reality, that part of me. And I'm attracted to people that have those like qualities of energy and enthusiasm. And I want to say curiosity, because that really is what separates, the ones that want to retire at 65 and clock in versus the ones that are like, there's a whole world, I'm just getting started, is that curiosity piece.
Right.
So I want you to talk a little bit about, because I think it's something that if somebody says, oh, I'm not creative, but if you switch it to curiosity, it's achievable to kind of look at things differently and to open up opportunities because I've always also created opportunities consistently for myself because of being a go-getter and curious, and I'm not afraid of failing. So let's
Well,
talk a little
that's
bit
a
about that
really
because I, I can see other people going, oh, but you're you. And I think everybody can unlock that.
I think there are a few things. I think that being curious is a little bit of an innate behavior. It's a little bit how you're wired. So, as an on the entrepreneurial spirit, the spirit, really, you need to be curious because the whole journey is out of curiosity. How can you invent something? How can you disrupt something? How can you reimagine the future in a way that's meaningful, right? What does that look like? And I think we're in a world today where there's so many tools. You have access to almost everything. Barriers to entry are gone. Now, it's still scary to just go ahead and try something, but if you're a lot of my innovations and entrepreneurial ventures came out of things that I wanted, things that I saw that I was excited about, that I couldn't understand why you couldn't shop off of a person on this new thing called the internet. Those were very simple ideas for me back then. Even today, why put fragrance in a stick? Well, of course, fragrance, I mean, perfume solids have been around forever, but I wanted to make it better. Why does fragrance, I love the fragrance industry. I love everything about it. But how come my fragrance doesn't last? And how come the number one problem in this global $70 billion industry, why doesn't my fragrance last? And what is the solution to that problem? So I made it. I made a fragrance primer. These are, and it took years to do that with chemists and contract manufacturers and teams. I mean, I think what happens to most people, you have to have a certain stamina. You can be curious. Curiosity is important just as a human, but to really want to get something done, it is repetitive, it is hard. You fail more than you succeed. You work harder. There's a lot of times where it's very lonely and it's really hard. And there's no fast path to anything in life.
There's
And if you want
there's
success,
no express lane.
no. And
That
and it's
overnight
right.
success is a bunch of BS.
Yeah, it is. I mean, someone just said to me, how do I stay resilient in another podcast interview? And it was a really important question because I never really thought about it. It's just how I'm made. But no, it's not just how I'm made. I have crafted a life around resiliency. And sometimes I don't even know. Well, I will tell you what keeps me resilient. I'll tell you. It's knowing that what I've done in every one of these industries, the reaction from the consumer, the audience, the industry, when people love what you do. I mean, I've been around a while now, right?
You've been around, Abby?
I've been around. I have. Don't tell my husband. But the point is, if I didn't get the feedback, the real, honest, raw feedback, just tell me, oh, this sucks. I've had people tell me this product isn't good enough. This is good. This needs to be fit. And I listen. I listen to people who know more than me about certain things because that's how you get to the next step. And I think, people may not want to spend the time. It's expensive to fail. You have to figure out how to be nimble, how to get things done, when to put something aside. Producer skills are very unique because what a producer trains you to do is see the world through the camera lens. And I am a producer, right? That's what I do. Everything I do is a production. I just launched my new website today. I haven't had a minute to go on. I'm like, I got so many messages. That was so nice. It made me feel so good. I worked for hours, hundreds of hours. Everything I do, I work hundreds of hours on. Hundreds, morning, noon, and night. It's not normal, but I love it and I don't care. because that's what feeds me. That's what feeds my soul. And I think the best inspiration for other people to take away from that is not what turns me on. Find out what turns you on. What gets you excited? What makes you want to wake up in the morning? I'm right in the middle of a manuscript for a novel. Oh my God, I woke up in the middle of the night, 3 o'clock in the morning, I wrote 3 chapters. Like, I'm like, something's wrong with me. But
I
that's
think we would have had a conversation this morning at 3 a.m. because I did the exact same thing writing mine. But your brain is excited to work.
right. It's creative. It's fun. It's how do you keep going? I worked with a brilliant man. His name was Kermit Love. Kermit Love taught me so much. He was
He's got a
the,
great name.
well, he was,
Kermit Love.
could you imagine? Could you imagine the shoes? And who could fill those shoes? He created Big Bird, Big Bird, Sesame Street. He created Snuffy. He was a genius. I found him because I had created a kids' cooking show when I was working at Showtime and I was running around the network. This is curiosity. This is a true test of curiosity. I
Hmm.
had a job. I wanted to learn how to write a TV show. So I went into every single person's office in the network to understand how do you write a TV show. And they'd be like, oh, Abby's back. I didn't care. I wanted to know, how do you write a TV show? So I wrote the show. It was a kids' cooking show. It was the week the Food Network launched. I got myself into the chairman of the network. He's like, why don't you just quit your job at Showtime and come work for me and you'll be a PA and run around? I was like, I have a big job. I don't want to do that. Just do my show. He's like, no, it's a liability. I'm not going to put kids in a kitchen, mind you, you know, chef, kitchen, kids. 20 years later. So that's an early starter, right? But my point is that I was curious enough to get to the finish line. Now the show never got on air. And that was when they told me I was going to be the next Martha Stewart. But that wasn't my path. I didn't end up on that journey. But the point is that I had a vision. I didn't quit until I took it as far as I could. And then something else came out of it. So those are the stories I live to tell. And they're my stories and I love to share them. But my hope, my goal, and my passion is that other people will hear these stories, which they have over the years, and use them for themselves.
Be inspired to live out their own dreams.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
and I
We need
think,
lots of dreamers.
Abby, I think that the best service that we can do, and I think, when we were talking in the green room, I said I want to talk about the role of women in positions of power and influence. I think it's absolutely a responsibility of those women to now share that experience, which is why we're doing the Woman of Inspiration podcast, why it's so important. It's not about, the fast trash talky stuff that's out there on the internet too, right? For shock value and clicks. We're talking about real stories, real women that have done real things in life, that have gone through building and renovate, like reinvention and transformation that others can relate to. So, what do you think about that? What can we do to empower more women to really own that spotlight?
I think that women, I agree with you. There's a lot of noise. There's talent, and that's their job, right? There's different lanes for different things. I think that the more women that speak on panels at universities, I've spoken a lot at different universities to students. I think mentoring is a huge opportunity to really empower the next generation. These are things that I've been doing for many, many years quietly that really feed my soul, that I do a lot of one-on-one with young people because have been so lucky to have amazing people in my life that gave me so much in the beauty and fragrance industries. Even today, it's a conversation. I'm always learning something from someone, and I hope they're always learning something from me. It's like that inspiration portal, so to speak. But, women that have succeeded, that have had careers, that have raised families, that have really, have had a full life. I feel now with all of the access that we have, whether it's the internet or all of these platforms and Substacks, it's really our job. Like you said, it's an obligation to give back. And it's a huge part of what I do. I've done it my whole life. And it's something that's very gratifying to me. And I learn a lot too. It's that give and take. It's that young generation. I love it when I'm around these young kids. Every time I'm at a party or wherever I am, I don't know, I'm always talking to the kids and everyone's like, "Where's Abby?" And I'm like, I was talking to the kids and like, "Why are you with us?" I'm like, "Because I'm having more fun." Oh, don't tell them. I'm having more fun. I like that. It's fun. I have the best friends. And that's the other thing. I would never have been able to accomplish all of these business endeavors without an incredible network foundationally from family, from my dearest friends, from partners, from people I've met along the way. And I always say I did a podcast on my journey. It was called Finding Beautiful Strangers. It's a 12 episode limited series. And the theme of that podcast is in business and in life, relationships are everything. So that's really the thread that keeps things going,
Mm.
relationships.
Actually, speaking of threads, I pulled this out for you. Can you see it?
What is that?
It's a string,
Yeah.
and I'm going to have
Stop
to tuck
it.
this into an envelope and give it to you. But
Okay.
this is exactly, when I started speaking a decade ago, I mean,
Yes.
this for me was like, and I still give it to people. And
Oh, I
I
love
didn't think I
that.
had any in my pocket when I'd met you, but I usually carry them. And it's just like, and I would gift it to somebody because of that connection and
Oh,
that thread that you don't know who you're going to meet, but is for a reason and a purpose. And sometimes we don't realize that next week, the next month, the next year, the next decade, whatever, but there is a reason and a purpose why we meet the people that we do. They're all connected. And so this is it's part of one of my talks. And so I hand this off and I gave it to actually I tucked it into Martha's card for her and Michelle Obama and Annie Leibovitz. And Annie's like, wow, what is this? I'm like, it's a string. It
that.
means that we're all connected. And I kind of just a little Coles Notes gave her a version of that. But that's exactly what it is. We're so connected.
Hmm.
And the people that are on our journey are there for a reason and a purpose.
I agree with that. I love that. That's really
So,
beautiful.
so I'm going to send it to you in an
Okay.
envelope and then you tuck it in your wallet.
Okay. Am
And
I
then,
supposed to pass it on? Am I supposed?
well, yes, you
Yeah.
can actually go
Not the
and get
one
your.
you give me, but
So
do my
this, you
own.
can pass the one that I give you on. Now, this is the
Oh.
one that's connected to all those incredible women because I
Oh.
literally one day would love to make a list of, well, I can't because it's everybody that I've ever done talks with as well, but um, you can pass it forward to somebody that inspires a conversation in you and you
Mm-hmm.
pass it forward. And I got to tell you, they'll be like, "Oh, you would think that you gave them $1 million because there's
Special.
deeper
This,
meaning behind it. It's a bigger
right.
purpose. So
I
you can
love
put this in
that.
your wallet and then go get another spool and kind of chop some little pieces off. And, I've had people go, I still have that string. I went home and I got my
Mm.
own roll and chopped it all up and carried it everywhere. And I'm like, good, because that's what it's for.
I love it. Thank you.
You're welcome. So that's coming for you. There you
I
go, girl.
can't wait. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Okay,
It's
so
interesting
that
about
was
the
one.
thread. It is interesting about the thread because it's something that I'm writing about. And when I did that podcast, my limited series, it was a thread. It was how you weave the story. And I think in storytelling today, I think there's been a little bit of not loss, but the stakes are so much greater today in everything that we do. And sometimes it's not about the stakes in the arc. I'm a producer, right? I write, I produce. It's sometimes about the thread.
And the
That is,
common
I think,
threads.
so much more powerful. And I'm just writing about that. So that's kind of crazy. You just gave that to me. So thank you.
You're very welcome. So the listeners are probably going, did you forget about me? We're here. We're here. And I think I said to you before we started, I'm not going to press pause unless the dog gets up and he knocks something over and Bentley decides he wants to make a personal appearance. But I said, I really love these conversations to be kind of like you're in the room at the table with us. And if we actually forget that there's listeners, like, yay. So I think that's kind of, we achieved it. But we're not done yet because there are some questions I want to ask you. Number one, I want to go back to some of these really influential people that you've met along the way. Is there any lessons learned that you've sort of gleaned from, like, you must have some wow moments where you're like, oh my God, like I'm taking that to the vault with me because you've learned so much from these individuals. Maybe we do a shout out to some good things that you've learned from over the years of working with some really exceptional people because they didn't get there by accident.
Mm. Well, I have, and I've had the great fortune to work with amazing people in so many different industries. Someone that I've worked with closely um, was Pamela Baxter, and she ran a big beauty company. And, she always says, "Did you do your homework? Did you go? Did you learn? Be curious, always do your research." And actually, I do. I do a ton of research. And except for when she asks me, "Did you do the research?" It's funny, actually. But as an entrepreneur, when you are going into meetings with really big companies and people, you want to have knowledge. Knowledge is power, right? And you
Absolutely.
can't glean everything, but ask a lot of questions. You want to know how you can best serve. If you're in business, how can you be an asset to somebody? I'm developing new capsule collections in fragrance. It's the hottest category right now in the industry, fragrance hybrids. I've been doing it for a long time, but now they're just seeing the value and the opportunity because things evolve and the industry, not that the industry changes, but the consumer needs change. And I want to be the best I can be so I can make other people look good. We're a B2B business. So, I think learning from people who, and it always comes around, right? It's so many years of work. Like what someone did 10 years ago, I may be doing today, but a little differently. So things change, but they don't exactly change. The medium can change, the distribution can change, the platform can change, but business is business. What are your goals? What are your sales? How are you going to get there? It is, there are certain methods and processes that are tried and true. Now, granted, many systems are broken, and that's what gives people like me a white space and an opportunity to look through the lens of what can I disrupt next. But learning from people in different industries, different people at fragrance houses, sharing their love and their passion is very meaningful for someone like me because watching their years of experience and expertise, um, you know, go the distance, take the shot, try your best. You never know. You never know. And you know what? For me, it's always, and I say this so wholeheartedly, the relationships mean a lot. They are because the relationships are personal. They're not just professional. When you care about people and when you do for people, it comes back to you in a million different ways. I mean, Kermit
Absolutely.
used to always say to me, climb that mountain, Abby, and never look back. Never, ever look down. And I just keep singing Ain't No Mountain High Enough because Diana Ross is like she's my idol and my icon. But through this industry, I've had the great fortune to work with unbelievable, brilliant people, people who, have built companies around the world, have failed millions of times and stood back up to go again.
That's inspiring.
It is inspiring, and that's what it takes because there's no sure thing. And we're in a very trepidatious world. It's changing rapidly. There's a lot of noise, and you can't get caught up in the noise. You got to really just stay focused on what you're doing, blinders on, if you want to feel good within yourself, because there's a lot out there, and you have to be very careful too, you know.
Mm.
So,
So I'm going to talk about this next part. We're going to jump in and talk about support her. And, while we were sitting on that little sofa in Rock Center, of course, Chris Appleton was there promoting his book, which I cannot wait to read. It's Your Roots Don't Define You, like drop dead.
good. Oh,
Like
that's
that's just an
interesting.
incredible title, especially going back to what he does.
Mm,
But he's a support her. And he's a support
mm,
her building relationships with all of these women. And, has carved himself a very, very niche clientele. But there's a real need for men in positions of power, again,
mhm.
that are champions of women to use their voice, tell their stories, which is, which is Chris. He's the epitome as to support her. But
Mhm.
why, and I want to know from you who those support hers were in your world, because we really do need more allies to the table and they need to be visible.
Right. No, it's a really good question. I mean, I couldn't have achieved what I've achieved in my lifetime without many men being supportive of me. And I always talk about that. So starting as a child, my father was my idol. He was just a wonderful human, always supportive. I was like a baseball player, I was a tomboy. And I don't know, I'd had lots of ideas and dreams and whatever I wanted. He was like, okay, let's just do that. Or he was extremely supportive, always. I worked for a network and I worked with the chairman, Matt Blank. He was very supportive of my career endeavors. Um, to go to Hollywood and launch my own shows and yeah, I mean, always, because I would always seek out those people. Like I mentioned, Kermit Love, Bob Niederlander, who was Gladys' husband, always so supportive. He's like, your name should be in lights. I was like, Bob, I don't want my name in lights. I don't know. Maybe I should have. I was just at the Devil Wears Prada in London, and it was funny. I was sitting in that seat. I was sitting in the like the second row back and watching this incredible production. Vanessa Williams' outstanding performance, and that's the Niederlander Theater. And as I'm watching it, I'm thinking of Gladys. Gladys passed away many years ago, and I'm thinking, oh my God, maybe she's Miranda, and I'm the Andy, and she's Miranda. And I was like laughing to myself. I was having like a real full circle moment because I worked for the Niederlanders, and they were wonderful people. They were very good to me. But she opened the door and she said, use my name and go make a deal. And I did. And it was all hustle and didn't, you know,
That's
didn't miss
almost
a
unheard
beat.
of.
What?
That's almost unheard of for
Yeah,
somebody to
yeah,
say
but
that.
that
Just leverage what
probably.
you
Well,
can,
that's
girl.
yeah,
Go.
yeah, that's true. It is. And people and I must say, the one person who has been my rock and who has believed in everything is my husband.
Oh, I love to hear that.
'Cause
I
I
love to
mean, he's
hear
like,
that.
oh, if people only knew. I mean, who gets up at 3 in the morning to write their book?
What is
He,
his name?
his name is Stephen.
Stephen. Hi, Stephen.
Hi, Stephen. He is also in the beauty industry. He's a plastic surgeon.
Hi, Stephen.
A real plastic surgeon, like a famous plastic surgeon, makes the world beautiful with his hands, top to bottom, head to toe, not just
Ooh,
like the face or the whole thing. And yeah, I couldn't do what I do. We've raised a family. I have 3 children, and I could not be who I am if I didn't have a husband who loved me for who I am, who believed in me for what I am. Because this is it. Like I'm not changing. And I love what I do and I'm grateful, and it's not easy. It is not an easy journey to watch your wife go through big projects and see them tip and then sometimes often not come to fruition the way you had envisioned. And it's a roller coaster ride, and it's a big roller coaster. Mine has been. What's that thing at that with the loop the
a
loop?
hamster wheel.
No, the Great
Oh,
Adventure
I'm
with
like, I know the hamster
no,
wheel quite
forget the
well.
hamster wheel. No, mine's like the tornado that goes around
Oh, the
loops,
tornado. Okay.
like where it goes around and then around again. Anyway, I am very grateful, and my sons are very supportive. So without that network and my mom, who is amazing, really, they're my foundation for everything of what I've done. And then I have a whole crowd of friends that show up. I'm launching something, and they're all there. And this is who I am, and this is what I love. And I'll probably be this way as long as I can because
Amazing.
I like
Well,
to
I
bring.
truly love doing the shout out to your husband, Stephen, and I hope you'll have the opportunity to listen because, we don't talk about the men that are champions behind the scenes. And that's one thing that's really important to me is to shine the spotlight on that because we don't do it alone. We need our
No.
support network. I mean, we do, and I've done a lot of it on my own. But it's been hard. And, the people at the very top, there is help and support at every level. They don't just do it on their own. So,
Yeah.
anyways, kudos to all your support hers. And I'm glad that we had the opportunity to do a little shout out because that's really important. So we're wrapping up, girl. And we talked a little bit about your business, your journey, the people in it. We went off track and back on track. And I hope our listeners really enjoyed this podcast. But it is the Woman of Inspiration podcast. So I would love to know what your definition of a woman of inspiration is, Abby.
Mm. So that's really a simple question for me. That's being true to who you are,
Ooh,
being your authentic self. Because when you're aligned with your core being of who you are, what you love, who you love, how you live your life, that's the best you can be. We're all human. But being authentic, I've never in this entire journey have not been true to myself. And every time I thought, and sometimes I've said, maybe, what if I took that path? And I always come back to my integrity, my mission, my vision, and my purpose. And I stand behind it.
beautiful. That's a mic drop in itself, Abby.
Oh, good. I like a mic drop.
So, what's as before we let you go, I've got some rapid fire questions, including what's next.
What's next? Well, you're getting me at a very exciting moment.
Yes,
So,
the new website I heard.
yeah, I launched as well. I mean, it's been in the works for so long. So I just relaunched my fragrance innovation company. It's called the House of Scentinvent. We're a B2B business and we make fragrance hybrids for the global industry, brands, retailers. I have wonderful partners on that journey. And as a partner to that, I launched my new website, abbywallach.com, where you can see my full branded website, just my passion, my expertise and what I do, and how I live in the world on a regular basis. And right now, I'm about to head to Miami for a big trade show where we'll be presenting all of our new capsule collections to the global industry to share Fragrance 2.0, what the future of fragrance looks like, how it's clean and portable and fun and playful, and a whole new way of thinking about scent to take with you on the go. So you can take it through your airport terminal and they're not going to beep when they see the beautiful bottle. We love the bottle, but we think beyond the bottle. And I have a few other very big projects that are in the works. So on the media side. So I'm super excited. It has not been it's been a very long journey, but it's been very fulfilling. It's been meaningful. It's been so much fun. And I'm just getting started.
Ooh, I love that. Going all in, Abby, is what my vibe for 2026.
Mm.
Also, intention is my word. What's your word for 2026?
Oh, I like intention. Authorship.
Authorship. A book that you're reading or that you say that, oh my God, you have to read this book. For
So,
any listeners that are bookies out there that love to read and, want to know what all the inspired women are reading.
so I have many books that I keep by my bedside. There's a book called The Archer, which I absolutely love. It's a short little book. It's a story. It's a wonderful story about a bow and an arrow and the person who is shooting that arrow. It's a little, I forget who wrote it. Oh, I feel terrible. It'll
The
come.
Archer.
The Archer. And I loved The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo and The Midnight Library. So those are two books that I've recently read that were really great.
Beautiful. Great reads for somebody listening, and I'll add them to mine as well. And a daily non-negotiable that keeps you going as with the as much energy and passion as you have. What's that non-negotiable, Abby?
Cup of coffee every morning.
It's that simple for me too some days.
Just okay. I have to have a cup of coffee before anything starts. Calling my
Well,
mother. Calling my mother. How's that?
that's beautiful. Yeah. Well, say hi to mom for me. Hope she gets to listen to this and hear the couple shout outs that you had for her. But it has been an absolute pleasure, Abby, to have you on the Woman of Inspiration podcast. Any last words for our listeners before we wrap up?
I would just say, first, it was so wonderful meeting you, seeing you again, having our electric uh, connection, which was really great over Martha Stewart and Chris Appleton. I mean, that really was fun. And actually, I wasn't supposed to come back, by the way. I I swear, I didn't even tell you this. It's so nuts. I went out, I saw the booth. I went inside the booth because I was talking to him about maybe relaunching my podcast, and he's a super nice guy. And I saw Martha, and I'm like, oh, should I go
Joe.
down? Joe, yeah, Joe. And then I left and I got that crazy hot chocolate, which I shouldn't have, but I took
Yeah, the
one sip.
$14 hot chocolate with the toasted marshmallows that looked super
Yes.
sweet.
Don't tell us. Too sweet, but delicious. I only came back in to throw it out. I wasn't going to go back in. I was next door at Anthropology looking at their fragrance collection. And I went back in because I didn't want to take it with me home. And that's funny. And then I said, you know what, I have a few phone calls to make. And I sat down and then you sat down, or I don't know if we were there at the same
You
time.
sat down first, and I sat down right across from you. And I remember that I heard bits and pieces of your story because I was in my mode of going, there's Chris, and there he is. And
Right. And you
wow.
went over to speak
And
to
I
him,
went over to
started
talk to
talking, and then we
Chris.
went, right. And I think, you know what, maybe the best thing that I can leave you with and we can leave your audience with is always take the shot. Like, just if you're feeling something, just do it. I mean, of course, it has to be safe and smart and whatever. But like, if you're, I really was not going back in that building. I was there for 5 hours on the rooftop in a meeting, and I had this cup, and
I
then I
was
decided to
upstairs with a
sit
meeting
down.
too. That's so
You
funny.
were?
I was upstairs in a meeting, like, and I came down and I was exiting the building, and I'm like, now my meeting's done. My phone is
We
charged,
stopped.
and
We
I
took a minute.
knew
Yep.
that I wanted to come back. Yeah.
Well, you know what I think that means? That we were both willing to take a minute of our time to just sit with ourselves. I didn't know we would start talking. Like, I was really just sitting with myself, just processing the day on my phone, looking at some emails, seeing some traction around, but not really looking. And I think that was a great thing. I think that's what we should take away from this, that we both took 15 minutes to just sit and think and then meet one another and have a nice conversation. And here we are. Take the time. Take the time to be intuitive, to give yourself that moment of breathing, and just be with yourself.
And I always say, women of inspiration don't wait for opportunities, we create them.
I love that. Thank you.
So thank you again, Abby. Your website, Abby, and I'm going to spell your last name, WALLACH.com is your new website, and they can find out all about you. And of course, on LinkedIn. Listeners, thank you for coming on this journey with us this afternoon. And I hope that you were inspired by this conversation. There's lots of nuggets to take with you. And if you enjoy this podcast, please share it widely. Also, show Martha some love, show Chris Appleton some love. She's got a new podcast and he's got a new book. So let's say hello to our friends who inspired us in this conversation today, and share it widely with your audience, because women of inspiration don't wait for opportunities, they create them. And I look forward to touching base with you again, and expect something in the mail. Abby.
Thank you so much, Monica. So much fun. I really appreciated it.
Thanks, listeners. We'll see you soon.